everybody, and welcome back to Rose and Towel Reviews. Today, we are ranking every single Wallace and Gromit character. Seeing as we don't get Wallace and Gromit movies that often, I was kind of thinking to myself, it could be another few years before I make another YouTube video on Wallace and Gromit. So I thought, you know what? I really enjoyed ranking all the movies. Let's go one bigger and rank every character. And before we get going, just to caveat that not every single person or animal or otherwise that appears in Wallace and Gromit is in this ranking. As much as I loved appearances from characters like Mrs. Mulch and On Your Doorstep, I just didn't think that they had enough screen time to warrant a presence on this list. But anyone in my eyes that plays a significant role in the movie or movies, they're in here. I'm kind of nervous about this one, you know. I think I've gone for some controversial picks. But hey, I'll say it again. No use prevaricating about the bush. Let's get cracking. In my opinion, no character in Wallace and Gromit is a bad one. However, unfortunately, as ever with these ranking videos, somebody has to come at the bottom of the list. If you watched my previous movie ranking video, you'll know that my least favourite part of Vengeancemostfowl was that whole police investigation subplot. And yeah, PC Mukherjee, she serves the story. She does what she needs to do. She is the logic to Macintosh's stupidity. And she does have moments of charm, like when she tried to barrage down Wallace's door but ultimately fell flat on her face. I like that, but at the moment, she's the least memorable character for me. This is one of the ones where I'd be intrigued to see if people agree with me. She's an OG Wallace and Gromit character, right? But for me, I've never truly appreciated her as a character. I do wonder if there are a few conflict layers within her that make her a more interesting character than I think she is. She probably misses her dad, rightly so, wants to appreciate his greatest invention, that being Preston, but then she feels guilty that he's an evil cyborg dog. Mix in some potential feelings for Wallace and you've got a character that's pretty well developed for the amount of screen time that she gets. And I think that's one of the things to highlight when you're ranking all of these characters, something like Wallace and Gromit, where, alright, sure, you can look at character development and arcs, but ultimately, I think it does come down to personal preference and maybe who makes you laugh the most. Still, no character on this list is a bad one, plus she did bring about one of my favourite lines. Oh no, not cheese. Can't stand the stuff. Not even Wensleydale. What? That was not Wallace, what was that? Newly promoted, Chief Inspector Macintosh takes my next spot. And I know it seems kinda low, but there are just so many great characters on this list, it's so hard to rank them. Chief Inspector Macintosh was more than a welcome presence in Curse of the Were-Rabbit. And you know what? I think I found him even funnier in Vengeancemostfowl, particularly when he looked through the binoculars, only to say,
"Don't be ridiculous, he's banged up in the zoo. That's just an innocent nun out for a pleasure cruise."
This is probably the smallest role that a character plays on my list, but I couldn't help but include him because I just find him really, really funny. There really isn't that much more to his character, but I find him really, really funny, and that's why I've put him above other significant characters on this list. What kind of bullet? 24 carats. Ugh, get out of my way! In A Matter of Loaf and Death, we meet Paella Bakewell. At first glance, an innocent-looking woman who is, of course, charmed by Wallace. I mean, Who wouldn't be? But don't be fooled, she has many psychopathic tendencies, one of which she seems hell-bent on murdering Wallace, her 13th victim and her baker's dozen. And fair play as villains go, this is pretty evil for a Wallace and Gromit movie. She is a clear-cut murderer, and if that wasn't enough, yes, she is guilty of animal cruelty. I liked Paella, I thought she did her job as a character. One of my favourite parts of her character is watching her deal with Wallace and his fruitcake antics. Love that. I also loved her fight at the end of the film where she fights Fluffles. That was a great scene. I was unsure on whether to put this character on the list, but I wanted to include another character who holds a very close relation, so the were-rabbit takes my next spot. Important to note, I deem the were-rabbit as the fully transformed version. The half and half Wallace with the bunny ears, I don't think that's a separate enough character from Wallace himself. It was really entertaining to see Wallace-like tendencies merged into this giant were-rabbit beastly form. But you know what? My favourite part about this character is actually when he saves Gromit at the end of the film. I love that. Fluffles was a really nice presence in A Matter of Life and Death, and first and foremost you can't help but feel sympathy for her character given her owner. Rightly so, she presents as pretty shy and quiet, probably because she doesn't have a mouth just like Gromit, but also because she's probably been beaten down constantly by that freaking... don't swear. Paella Bakewell. But throughout the film, she does grow as a character, opting to take more opportunities to help Gromit and Wallace when she can. Whoa, it feels kind of weird saying that, Gromit and Wallace. Imagine if it actually been called Gromit and Wallace instead. Anyway, Fluffles was a great character, and as a bonus, it was nice to see Gromit getting a bit of a love interest as well. I'm sorry, please don't shoot. Please. I'm alive. I'm alive.
I'm alive. Yeah!
Okay, so you know how I said I was a little bit nervous at the start of this video? Well, this is primarily the reason why, because I've put Shaun the Sheep in my next spot. Shaun the Sheep is clearly a well-loved character, so well-loved that his own franchise evolved off the back of a close shave. And admittedly, I've never seen Shaun outside of the film A Close Shave, so my ranking is purely based on that. And of course, Shaun is a very playful and mischievous character. As a kid, I always enjoyed watching him go around the Wallace household, eating a bunch of random stuff, only for Wallace to be like... But as much as I enjoy him, he doesn't fall as high on the list as some of you might expect. Another one I'm sure who falls higher on a lot of people's lists. Up next, it's Preston. He's tough, cold, metallic, so much so that yes, once again, I did used to be scared of this character as a kid. Preston's a funny one. For me, he doesn't fall higher on the list because he is quite one-dimensional. Because he is so cold, metallic, villainous. He doesn't have that extra layer, that extra funny bit to him that makes me want to put him higher on the list. But then again, he is a cyborg, so hard to write him any other way. And that probably is my favourite part about his character. That reveal at the end of A Close Shave, where it's like, why is this guy doing this? And then it's like, oh my god, he's a cyborg. Next up, and I can't believe I'm putting it ahead of a character like Preston, but I guess that shows just how good Vengeance Most Fowl was. It's Norbot. My personal preference with characters in Wallace and Gromit is that they do fall more on the light-hearted side. And despite Norbot having more of a villainous presence in Vengeance Most Fowl, yes, he does have that funny side to him. Call me Norbot. Hello, Master Gromit. Recharge time. So yeah, it has that more light-hearted side, but it has that devilish, freaky side as well. When the Norbots all get black eyes and they're blinking and it's... Was that a little bit freaky? No? Do I need to grow up? Okay. Okay, next up, it's Lady Tottington, aka Totty, in my opinion, Wallace's best love interest. I like how she meets his naive, giddy optimism and also has that playful, flirtatious nature to her as well. I think she's a great match for him. She has this sweet innocence to her, like the way that she doesn't want the rabbits harmed. She keeps faith in Auntie Pesto until she just can't anymore. And you know what? She has a pretty good character arc as well. By the end of the film, standing up to Victor, that was good to see. But for sure, watching her interact with Wallace is just pure comedy gold. Like the scene where Wallace goes to deliver the good news about the beast. Wallace is there like eating flowers, scratching his head like a bunny, all the while Tottington's like, ooh. So for me, Lady Tottington has all the makings of a pretty solid character, and she only helps to elevate other main characters like Wallace. In my eyes, a near perfect counter to Gromit. Next up, it's Philip. Just as brilliant in his own way, Philip presents as very intelligent, but a lot more devious than Gromit. However, just like Gromit, Philip is willing to do whatever it takes to help his owner, Lord Victor Quatermain. What I did like about Philip is that he does have that funny side to him, whereas a character like Preston didn't. Watching that dramatic aeroplane battle between Philip and Gromit was comedy gold. Philip pausing the fight to go through his little change purse, or when Wallace is transforming into the were-rabbit, Philip's being all tough and then he sees Wallace and he's cowering to get in the car. It's moments like these that make this character a great addition to the Curse of the Were-Rabbit. Here we go, things are hotting up now. And next we go to where it all began. A grand day out introduces the character of Cooker, a police-like machine that gets angry at Wallace and Gromit when they steal cheese from the moon. The creativity behind an idea of going to a moon made of cheese is one thing, but then to introduce a character that gets angry when you steal cheese from that moon, brilliant. I loved it. But also, somehow in this incredibly short runtime, you do end up developing feelings for this character. You're kind of wary because you don't want it to interfere with the rocket launch process and stop our main characters from getting home. But also, you just want it to be able to ski. Are you really telling me that you weren't grinning from ear to ear when you saw Cooker going down the cheese slopes on the moon? So good. This one is really, really rogue, I know, but I can't help but love this guy. He cracks me up. Obviously, it's pretty much just Wallace, but watching this guy deliver those Wallace lines in that high-pitched rabbit voice, often at the most inappropriate of times, it's comedic gold. The top 3 sayings for me are, I really can't impersonate this guy, so I apologize for what you're about to hear. Good night, Gromit. Just as Gromit needed his help. Charming. I'm Wallace. Just when Gromit doesn't want him to answer the door. And then, of course, ooh, I do like a bit of gorgonzola. Actually, wait, there's one more which I really like. The close shave reference when he's like, ah, the bounce has gone from his bungee. Anyway, I apologize that you had to watch that. I'm not looking forward to watching that back. But the point being, this guy is absolutely hilarious, and that's why he falls so high on the list. Everything about this character I absolutely love, and if it wasn't for a certain penguin/chicken, he'd easily be my favourite villain. Victor has that trust fund poncy arrogance to him, a man that clearly thinks he deserves everything, including Lady Tottington's estate. This guy is a clear, dangerous villain. He sees Wallace as a clear threat to his path to the estate, and he wants him gone by any means necessary, even if it means murder. So he has that clear, evil, villainous nature to him, yet once again, this guy's really funny. I think the scene that perfectly encapsulates this character is when the crowd at the vegetable competition are freaking out because the were-rabbit isn't dead yet. He easily steps into the power role, being the poncy figure that he is. He then explains his very evil plan to practically murder Wallace, and then goes ahead and wastes a bullet by shooting it in the air. Ego, evil, and buffoon all in one short scene. Next up, into the top 3 we go, and I don't think there was ever any doubt that this guy was going to make it in there. Feathers McGraw was introduced in 1993 in The Wrong Trousers, and what a debut it was. And I want to try and define this for a second. Why does a penguin/chicken that barely says a word rank above so many other characters that have dialogue? I think firstly, he plays the classic villain in a really, really good way. That long stare in The Wrong Trousers, looking out the window at the defeated villain of Gromit, rubbing his fins together, the rain pouring, the lightning thundering. He plays into those classic villain tropes very well. Secondly, I think he's a great counter character to somebody like Wallace. He's highly intelligent, very techy, but he uses that tech for all the wrong reasons, primarily greed. And thirdly, despite not saying anything, he interacts with Wallace and Gromit in a really funny way. A chicken? Good grief. It's you! Well, that's my third place done. Any guesses for the top 2? Well, I hope we all knew who would finish in the top 2. And actually, on that note, if your top 2, even top 3, if it's different to mine, I want to hear in the comments down below. What can we say about Gromit? It's kind of hard to talk about him because he belongs with Wallace and Wallace belongs with him. Gromit is the dog that everyone wants. He's loyal, willing to do whatever it takes to help his owner. He's smart, cunning, witty, often one step ahead of anyone that tries to cross him. But I think more than anything, he has that human nature to him. I don't think Wallace would be who he is, even as famous as he is in a way, if it wasn't for Gromit reacting in the perfect way, just like we would if we were in this story. Every time one of Wallace's inventions goes wrong or otherwise, Gromit is there to give a stellar reaction. He is the logic to Wallace's emotionality, the calm to his irrationality, the realism to his dreamy nature. Every story needs a hero, and heroes don't get that much better than Gromit.
Lovely cheese.
In first, it's the man himself, Wallace. I don't know where to start with this guy. Firstly, let's begin with what makes him who he is. He's smart but daft, simple yet creative, and just all-round lovable. His northern friendly charm spills over to complement the rest of the characters that find themselves in this story, and I can't help but love the fact that he just seems to believe the absolute best in people. Alright, fine, in terms of actual development, this guy isn't exactly a strong character. He very much plays on the same trope from film to film. But he's had a huge culture statement, and that's simply because he's really, really funny. I love watching him within the world of Wallace and Gromit, yes, but I've also spent a good chunk of my time watching this guy as a Sith Lord. If you haven't seen those memes, YouTube them because they're brilliant. And this really shows just how much of an impact this guy has had even outside of his storytelling world, and shows just how funny he is. And therefore, in my opinion, Wallace is indeed the best character in Wallace and Gromit. And with that, we draw this list to a close. That was every Wallace and Gromit character ranked. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please support the channel and leave a like. And don't forget to let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching this video right through until the end. I do appreciate it. I'll have more videos for you very soon. But in the meantime, please subscribe for more reactions and reflections, and I'll speak to you all very soon.